and tomorrow to give you honor and praise. We join our voices to call and gather together this day to gain insights, to convey in us all a deep respect for one another, so that this community formed by the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery of the University of Santo Tomás may be one in mind. Lord, we pray for vision. May your vision fill our lives as we seek to be. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
We call on the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery from batch 1986, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Maria Lourdes Maglino, for the welcome remarks.
Father Angela Paridio, OP, our Regent of the Faculty of Medicine and Surgery, Dr. Estelita Budan Luis, our Assistant Dean, Dr. Ivan Villaspin, Chief Programs Officer of the CME, Dr. Gil Gonzalez, President, UST Medical Alumni Association Philippines, our President-elect, Dr. Alex Pineda, USMA Philippines, Dr. Robert Ang, our incoming President, UST Medical Alumni Association of America Foundation. We have our beloved alumni, jubilarians, students, colleagues, guests. A pleasant morning to everyone. Every year, we find ourselves in the company of friends and acquaintances in a festive season of get-togethers and alumni homecomings. The start of every year has now been the time when the tradition of paying respect to our alma mater is joyously experienced. Since after the quadricentennial celebration, January has become the new December. In a way, it was a welcome change as the vibrance of the Yuletide season is carried over to the first months of the incoming year. Every Thomasian Medical Alumni Homecoming since time immemorial has been conducted in a format that balances continuing medical education with camaraderie, comradeship, and companionship among classes and classmates. This unique setup has mirrored the value that Thomasian physicians give to work and play, which millennials now refer to as work-life balance. Yes, even before this word was ever coined and popularized, the Thomasian physician knew how to use, enjoy, and practice it. Just another proof that Thomasian physicians have always been way ahead of their time. This year is no exception. Just as preparations are underway for the big alumni homecoming mass and awarding ceremonies, the heartwarming Thomasian welcome walk, and the spectacular gala night, where talent and timing will once again be displayed, every alumni homecoming organizing committee showcases their world-class members whose achievements in the medical and health-allied disciplines are worth listening to and learning from. Inspired by the legendary academician and clinician Professor Mariano M. Alimurong, this postgraduate course named after him will undoubtedly prove that the Thomasian physician has successfully touched the world with the brand of Thomasian medical education. We are fortunate to have the impact of the scientific contributions made by Thomasian physicians have improved, if not innovated, the landscape of healthcare in various parts of the world. Thus, this occasion of academic learning is a fitting event to highlight the pivotal role we have humbly yet proudly played in the global arena and our continuing commitment to produce modern-day Thomasian physicians ready to compete, contribute, and conquer. This year's theme, Icons, Insights, Concepts, and Standards in Medicine, is both catchy and correct. Yes, our rich history has given birth to Thomasian icons in medicine whose insights illumined paths, whose concepts clarified truths, and whose standards have become timeless beacons of excellence and competence here and elsewhere. And according to the American writer Ralph Markson, excellence is not a skill, it is an attitude. As products of the oldest existing medical school in the country, we have been taught, tailored, and trained to be the best in whatever we do. Excellence was not a word, it was a tenet. And as we were honed to become competent, committed, and compassionate professionals, we were emboldened by the values of honesty, trustworthiness, and objectivity. Growing up and growing old within the portals of this university, we were imbued with the virtues of humility, charity, and love. Excellence, therefore, was demonstrated more than just stated. Excellence was exacted more than just required. And excellence was the non-negotiable outcome our alma mater expected of us. And standing here before you, I am proud, wearing the seal of the UST Faculty of Medicine and Surgery, to be in the company of excellence. All of you are courageous prototypes of excellence in different shapes, forms, and sizes. And I know your accomplishments are solid validations of how excellence was inculcated in you by the UST Faculty of Medicine and Surgery. Let us continue paying homage to this heritage of excellence pioneered by the likes of the iconic Dr. Mariano Alimuro, by striving to be beyond reproach, by practicing medicine with the highest standards of professional and moral ethics, and by leaving examples of the Thomasian legacy of competence, commitment, and compassion. And as we gather again in tradition this year, let us thank this venerable institution of learning which nurtured our nature and transformed our lives into lasting legacies of our patients and loved ones. Let us remember not only to look back, but to offer back our support to our alma mater, which will outlive us, standing lofty with its stature, beaming with pride, refracted from the successful reflection of its many graduates, and continuing with courage its lifelong mission of evangelizing minds and making them witnesses and true disciples of Christ's healing ministry. Allow me to congratulate all the Thomasian medical jubilarians for leading the way and making this and the succeeding days' events something we will all look back fondly in the future. And lastly, allow me to request the pleasure of everyone's company to celebrate with us and be part of history in 2021 as we celebrate the sesquicentennial marking of our beloved UST Faculty of Medicine and Surgery. Hail to the Thomasian physician and welcome home. Thank you very much.
Welcome. So we would like to welcome everybody to this 37th Alamurong Memorial Postgraduate course. For those who came home from the different countries, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and others, we deeply appreciate you coming and spending your precious time with us. For those who came from all over the country, who came from the north and south of the Philippines, again, we would like to welcome you to this postgraduate course. Before anything else, we would like to thank you for taking your precious time in coming over to join us. We would like to thank the Dean, Maria Lourdes, Domingo Maglinaw, for giving us this opportunity to have this postgraduate course, and the Assistant Dean. We would also like to thank the Regent for blessing us with his presence and also blessing us to have 2 days of very, very innovative knowledge. We would like to thank also the USMA, the Philippines and the America for also helping us set up this postgraduate course. And of course, we would like to welcome all other jubilarians for coming over and helping us celebrate this 78th jubilarian. Then we would like to thank also the committee of Dr. Ivan Vilispin and Dr. Ida Tabangay, our course director, for putting up this very innovative and very comprehensive lecture series. And also, we would like to also say that the insights, concept, and standards in medicine does not stop here. We would try to have from evolution to innovation. We would like to see the future of medicine and surgery, and of course, in the confines of the UST Faculty of Medicine and Surgery. So again, thank you very much and welcome. And we hope that this would be a very, very pleasant and educational endeavor for us. Thank you very much.
I was still in high school when you guys graduated from grad school. And most of the members of the audience were not even conceived yet when you graduated. Dr. Mariana Murong lectured the moving spirit before we introduced the lecturer. So here it goes. Dr. Ali Murong had all the qualities, all the ingredients of a man capable of changing the world for the better and creating a mark in history. On March 1952, he organized the Philippine Heart Association and became the founding president. A year later, the first journal of the Philippine Heart courses of the American College of Cardiology in other countries. Silver jubilarians like yourselves forming the core faculty. And it was sadly precisely for this purpose in 1980 that as he was traveling in the United together to share a lot of things after being separated by time, distance, or priorities. But more than the scientific output of this postgraduate course, I know a lot of you can relate. I'll get there. Soon I'll get there. Many of you would actually show photos of your families, including your grandchildren, or of your estates, to continue our pursuit of knowledge and excellence in the practice of medicine. Okay, so I hope that many of our lectures today and tomorrow enrich us so that we can provide the highest quality of medicine.
I appreciate being here. I've had a pleasure of giving a lot of talks in my career, but this is a singular honor to be the Mariana Liburn speaker for medical school where I came, and I feel it's kind of gotten full circle. And it's good to see everyone still looking very, very young, being hard and phenotype and genotype. Anyhow, so today I'm going to be talking about brain aging and the prevention of Alzheimer's disease. So as you can see, the world population is aging. And with that comes age-related diseases, just like what you see here. This came from the Philippines Department of Health, actually. These are the leading causes of death in the Philippines: heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, management disease, COPD, pertinent to the population that we serve here in the Philippines. But today I'm going to be talking about mostly dementia. What is dementia? Dementia is a very common disease. About over 25 million cases around the world. This is 2010, so it's probably a lot more now. One way to think about that. But the other thing to remember is that Alzheimer's is responsible for about 70% of all causes of dementia. So that's by far, it is the most common cause of dementia. That's why some people use it interchangeably, but they're not the same thing. Vascular dementia and other dementias as well. I'm excited about. So this is this concept that the brain is not something that will decline no matter what you do. It's plastic, meaning it's not a static organ. It changes throughout your life. It constantly reorganizes itself. You can form new brain cells even middle age or beyond. Even though you accumulate some damage, whether it be strokes or delirium or whatever, you can still recover brain function. As you get older, you are less likely to bounce back from these insults, but you can still, depending on who you are. And I'll show you a good example in the next few slides. So brain plasticity, remember this concept. This is the capacity of the human brain to constantly remodel itself. It's a buffer against damage and disease. So if you get dementia or stroke, if you have a plastic brain, you will bounce back. That's the concept. And there's also passive and active forms. And there's no better example of a plastic brain than Albert Einstein. This is the actual brain of Albert Einstein when he died in Princeton, New Jersey. He donated his brain to science. And because he's such a genius, people were like, what is his secret, right? What makes his different from mine? Sorry, his brain different from mine? And they found certain things. So he has a higher density of brain cells in his brain. The inferior parietal lobe, which is not seen here, it's on the other inferior part of the brain, is 15% wider than most people. And the grooves, these grooves that normally separate different parts of the brain were missing. So people were questioning, maybe that's why he was so smart, is that these grooves, don't exist. They just communicate each other like with the information frenzy. So in a sense, he was extremely smart. He was a professor at Princeton until the day he died. And this is what we aspire to be, is to have the plastic brain of Albert Einstein. Another example of brain plasticity is the nun study. I don't know how many of you have heard of this. It was in the front cover of Time magazine several years back. These were autobiographies. A researcher in Minnesota actually went to a convent, the Notre Dame nuns, and went to the basement and dug volumes and volumes of diaries of these nuns who were then already in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. Because apparently, before they said their vows, they were asked to write a very, very detailed autobiography of how they lived their life. It's like purging yourself from the secular world. And here they are, collecting dust in the basement. And the brain researcher said, wow, I have access to their writing when they're 18, 19-year-old novices. I want to know, and see who had dementia and who didn't, and who aged gracefully and who didn't. So age range at that time was 75 to 102 years old, but again, they had these writings. It's really a treasure trove. He looked specifically at the linguistic ability, the idea, density, grammatical complexity, because of course they didn't take calculus when they were 18, right? So you can't do that. But at least they had access to their writing. And what did they find? What did the researchers found? They found that in these nuns, poor linguistic abilities in early adulthood, this is 18, 19-year-old, is associated with higher risk of age-related mental decline in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. So they had greater risk of dementia. So nuns with college degrees are more likely to maintain intellectual capacity into old age. So for those of us who have MDs and for the medical students, you're actually investing something in your brain. Hopefully, none of us will get dementia in the future. And the interesting thing about the nuns is that when they imaged their brains and they sectioned their brains and looked at the pathology when they died, they donated their brains. They found that even those nuns who had the sticky proteins that I showed you, the amyloid plaques and tangles, they did not have dementia. Even though they had a burden that from a neuropathological standpoint, if a pathologist looked at it, it's like this person had dementia when they were living. No, they didn't. They were active, they were independent. So it shows you that the brain is plastic, that even though you get these proteins, you get strokes, etc., if you live an active life, you read, you keep engaged, there's actually some ways to prevent it. So what's the study of the what are the findings of the nun studies? The amount of brain tissue and synapses, brain damage from head trauma or strokes, and nutrition may alter the brain's vulnerability to damage. The other study that I want to show up is the Bronx aging study. So these are New Yorkers who live in the Bronx area of New York, and they analyzed their lifestyles of these elderly residents, and they asked them, how do you spend your time? What's your leisure? How do you spend your free time? And they plotted this and did a statistical analysis, and they looked at any problems that they have over the next 21 years. So what they found was that mental leisure activities were effective in reducing the risk of Alzheimer's disease. So people who read regularly, played board games, played musical instruments, did crossword puzzles, were somehow resistant to having memory problems in their late life. There's one physical leisure activity though that was found to reduce the risk of dementia. Those were all mental leisure activities that I showed you, right? So there's one physical mental leisure activity that was most effective in warding off memory problems. What do you think that is? Sex? I like that one, but not quite. Any idea? Dancing! Yes. Dancing was the only physical activity that conferred beneficial benefits in the mind. And there were several theories about that, but people thought it's because dancing is not just a physical thing, but also a mental thing, right? You have to remember the steps. It's also a social thing. You can't dance and not talk to anyone, right? So all of this somehow, so I think our dancers for our Jubilee will be keeping their minds active for a very long time. Okay, there's going to be a pop quiz as part of this, especially for our students. I want you to commit these words to memory. Toxic, decking, dapitan, and panis. Some of this may not have a meaning to some of challenging when you're have cognitive aging. Filling out your tax forms, downloading and using a new app, telephone numbers. Those are external behaviors that we can use. There's also internal behaviors like memory tricks, like mnemonics. We use this a lot in medical school, remembering the your wife, time and effort. Anyway, so there are ways to mitigate this. Risk factors for cognitive aging. There are factors that can affect the likelihood that we're going to have. People who are hospitalized have a greater risk of developing dementia within the next 10 years. So keep our patients healthy and out of the hospital if at all possible. Cognitively intact here, you pass. Congratulations. Toxic decking that you were in California, Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zalvita, for that indeed very enlightening lecture on brain aging. And out of the 4 words that you mentioned,
Of course, batch 83, special edition. Okay, the certificate of medicine and surgery through the Office of Continuing Medical Education presents this certificate of appreciation to Zalvi S. Tan MD for invaluable services rendered as lecturer, entitled Brain Aging and the Prevention of Alzheimer's Auditorium, San Martin de Porres.
Take you to the top. Tell me of your hidden thoughts. Come on, let me love you again. Do the best I can. Each when you know again.
Kaway na lang po.